Today for '08 on UX, I am joined by Seth, the CEO and founder of '08. So an article by Fast Times recently went into the topic of what they're calling quarantine UX. The concept is that under quarantine, many services of convenience have become essential. Some of the boosts we've been seeing are in teleconferencing software tools, Instacart delivery services, meal kits, high-tech intelligent products, and more. So with these new relevancies and new demands comes a struggle for companies to keep up. Companies really have to be prepared to pivot and adapt to this new digital forward life. So that seems to be placing really great importance on UX. And essentially, I think it can make or break your business. So first and foremost, what is user experience?
Well, user experience is really just the result of using a product or experience as far as the user's affect and actions and, overall emotional experience. So UX can be good or bad. And of course, we want good UX because that does great things for our users and in turn, the business or organization. There's a certain amount of empathy that goes into it, understanding the user so that you can produce a good UX or understand what a bad UX is. And then a certain amount of design thinking or creativity and expertise in your execution. So ways to pull out information from users, whether it's the form of surveys or data from various platforms, what have you, so that you understand them to a degree that the solution you make is going to be good, right? You can't make a good solution without understanding your user and having some good quality data about them.
So UX has always been important, but we're definitely living in kind of a new world with COVID-19 and this quarantine and everybody really going digital. So why is user experience so important now, enough so that there's now been this term coined quarantine UX?
Of course, we want to do good things for the world and, be there for people as much as we can. But also, there are real interactions that are changing, such as, okay, we're used to touching the touch screen or the bathroom, the toilet. I've been to Japan so many times that you see the toilets that run automatically and they automatically lift up, but that's not becoming that's not a laughable thing anymore over here. Like it could become a really new reality for how things work. So that, and then how we use our homes, it's our office is the doctor's office, our home office, our school, what have you. We're sitting in chairs more. And then another thing I came across was just when wearing a mask, like to the pharmacy, you present your ID, you have to lower your mask. You're using this paper ID, so that's probably going to be outdated. Move to smartphone. And then, speaking of smartphones, you raise it and expect it to recognize your face, but it doesn't work with a mask, at least current iterations as far as I've seen. So that so many things are changing and we just have to adapt.
That's crazy to think of all the new technologies that are going to come out of this. But I think a lot of them really, really make sense. So it'll be interesting to see what continues to happen. But businesses really do need to get ahead of this to stay highly competitive, right? Because everyone is kind of trying to get the latest and the greatest technology to keep their business going, keep it profitable, keep them ahead of the game. Are there universal best practices or guidelines to follow or tools that should be used to collect data on how to really improve their user experience?
Yeah, there are a lot of great things you can do. I mean, you can start with recognizing that some of your consumers are just totally different than they used to be, and not as an aggregate, but also as segments. Some are put on the brakes, stop everything, oh my gosh, really panicking. Some are somewhere in between, and then some are business as usual, or even overindulging on certain things. So, just recognizing, step one, that they're different from how they were a couple months ago, and then even individually, they're more varied. So, with that, there are tools to see how people are interacting with your product or your website. There's a variety of tools, but without getting into each single one, you just have to think, okay, as a principal, I need data, right? I need some sort of data. Either they're clicking on my website, I need to know where they're clicking, where they're scrolling, or where they're visually scanning, or if it's a product, maybe it's surveys or focus group sessions, whatever it is. You need to be able to collect data, and that data again is not going to be the same as it was 2 months ago. So now is the time to be investing in data collection and getting to know your users again, because they're not the same as they used to be a while ago.
Yeah, it's so interesting to kind of see the human nature coming out of this and people's desire to adapt, to survive and thrive. And some of these tools are absolutely fascinating and so futuristic. So I think people will continue to rely on them. But when you get your testing results back, so let's say you use one of these great tools and you get some really great insights into your user, and then you implement those changes. Number one, are those changes that you can implement yourselves pretty easily, or are they kind of highly technical? And also, how often should you be testing and should you be making these changes?
Right. Well, there is a certain art and science to interpreting the data, right? So you see that people aren't scrolling on a certain page. Well, okay, that's fine, but what does that mean, and why aren't they scrolling, or whatever it is, your product, why aren't they figuring out how to use a certain feature? So there is some level of industry expertise, knowledge, that you need in order to interpret that data. But with someone that is trained to help you interpret that data, you can certainly take that and go a very long ways, and make really critical, crucial changes to whatever it is that you're trying to improve the user experience for. So yes, and of course, we can all use this time to learn more skills. So if you're a DIY enthusiast, great. I would recommend using an industry expert first, but heck, learn some of these methods, some of these tools, and maybe you can take on some of that yourself as you go along.
Yeah. And then the second part of that question was, how often should people be conducting these tests and checking back in with their users?
I mean, it all depends on your size of your business, traffic, or volume of people using or purchasing your product, your customer lifetime value, average purchase price, all these things. But the general answer is don't stop. Every time you stop doing it for a long enough period of time, you have a compounding effect of decreased revenues, decreased success, decreased satisfaction, because you can always optimize, you can always get better. Of course, you have to think about the resources you put in, but you can, if everything is set up right, you can do the math so that your investment is going to gain a positive ROI. So again, it's just looking at the data, always pushing the lever, doing better as you go along.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's important, you can always get better. So I guess having some insights, some true insights into your audience and your customers to kind of guide those improvements would be great. But it does sound like a big investment of time. So is this worth it? Do you think that the importance of UX is going to stick around past quarantine?
Absolutely. Yeah. Quarantine or not, like I said, I'm going to stick with web and digital because that's what we do. There is this thing called the CRO Power Law, for example. So it's just a law, you can Google it, that states there's this compounding effect to optimizing whatever it is. Generally, user experience is highly related to your business revenues. There are a few logical steps to get you there, but it's related to customer satisfaction, all these metrics that ultimately bring success to your business. So if you stop now, your competitors are probably going to keep doing this during the recession, at least one of them. And those who do are going to have a better product by the time that demand picks up, because this thing will eventually, and we don't know a lot right now, but we know that it's probably very likely going to end. And so now's the time to use some of your downtime, use some of your spare learning time to learn some of this stuff, speak with an agency like us, just to get ideas, not necessarily to do work, but folks like us just want to help right now. We want to help businesses succeed, and hopefully our competitors in the industry do as well. We want to help each other out. So focus on UX, because that's really focusing on your brand ultimately. Everything I'm hearing is focus on brand right now, because that'll take you through the long term.
Right. I think that's so important, and really creates that customer loyalty that everyone's looking for. That's really what keeps you relevant. So I think that was really great, useful information. And for anybody listening, anybody watching, we do have a great ebook on how to kind of pivot to adjust to this new environment, which you can download for free on our website. And we also have a really great video on our O8 YouTube channel that actually shows our UX testing tools, how we use them, how we gather those insights. And like Seth said, we are happy to be a resource to anybody looking to kind of go into this UX, very important UX realm, whether it's, just asking for us like strategic direction from us, or actually wanting us to handle it for you. So let us know. And I think that was super useful. Thank you, Seth.
My pleasure. Cheers.